There's a forgotten home defence trick from the Second World War that stopped looters, saboteurs and opportunistic thieves during some of the most chaotic years in modern history. Yet hardly anyone today even knows it existed. It wasn't a secret weapon, it wasn't a military device, and it didn't require electricity, alarms or reinforced glass. It was a simple method used by civilians on the home front to secure their windows so effectively that even modern burglars still struggle to defeat it. For the first minute, it's worth grounding ourselves in the world this trick came from. During the Blitz in Britain, blackout conditions turned entire cities into pitch-black targets. They couldn't run to the hardware store, and they couldn't wait for authorities. So households turned to a method so reliable that many veterans still swear by it. A method we now call the WWII window, bar and sash lock hack. It's a technique based entirely on mechanical advantage and forced angle resistance, and even today it holds up against crowbars, pry bars and quiet break-in attempts. The reason this trick existed in the first place is that wartime homes had to stay dark, quiet and secure without damaging the structure. Most families lived in brick-row houses with wood-frame sash windows. So people created an internal reinforcement system using tension bars placed diagonally across the window frame. These bars weren't welded or screwed into place. They were simply wedged using pressure and friction. Because they were mounted inside, they were invisible from the street, and because they pressed outward against the frame, any attempt to force the sash inward caused the bars to dig deeper into position. This made it incredibly difficult for anyone outside to push or pry the window open without making significant noise. The harder the window was pushed, the more rigid the bar became, functioning like an old-world door brace adapted for glass openings. A practical example from wartime London shows exactly how effective this setup was. Families living near the docks were frequent targets for break-ins, especially when air raid sirens sounded and streets emptied. So, one family actually recorded that their home was, repeatedly tested by intruders, but once they added diagonal tension bars to their windows, well, the attempts just stopped. Burglars would try prying the lower sash upward or pushing the upper sash downward, only to meet, really, immovable resistance. Even professional safecrackers, believe it or not, relied on finding leverage points. This hack, though, denied them every angle. The bar essentially turns the window frame into a single rigid triangle. Triangles, well, they don't collapse under sideways pressure, which is exactly why they're used in bridge trusses, aircraft wings, and defensive fortifications. Wartime civilians unknowingly built the same principle into their windows. Modern burglars still rely heavily on exploiting flexible structures, anything that can be bent or pried. But this World War II method removes that flexibility entirely. The modern application of this hack is, well, straightforward and extremely useful for homeowners, cabin owners, preppers, and really anyone who values passive security. A simple version requires nothing more than a sturdy wooden dowel or a metal conduit pipe. To apply it, just measure the diagonal distance from the bottom corner of the lower sash to the opposite top corner of the frame. Then cut the bar slightly longer, about 1 centimetre longer than the frame actually requires. So you want to insert the bottom end of the bar into the lower sash, then just press the top end up under the upper frame. Now, because the bar is, well, just a bit taller than the space itself, you've got to wedge it in there, nice and snug. These days, you'll find a lot of cabin owners using a sort of modified version by placing 2 bars in an X shape for a bit of extra resistance. In off-grid homes or rural properties where, police response might be a bit slow, these internal braces act as a kind of silent reinforcement. No batteries, no sensors, no networked gadgets, just good, solid peace of mind. There's another practical use, especially in emergency situations. Say you lose power, or you're expecting high winds, or you just need to shelter in place. This old WWII method lets you secure your windows quickly without making any permanent changes. That's especially handy for renters, since the bar doesn't leave any marks on the frame at all. The principle is exactly the same as it was 80 years ago. Reinforce the weakest point by redirecting the force across the strongest surfaces. The value of this World War II hack isn't nostalgia, it's practicality. It shows how ordinary civilians under wartime pressure developed mechanical solutions that honestly outperform many modern gadgets. Technology fails, electricity goes out, sensors glitch, but a simple bar wedged under tension will always work. This is exactly the kind of history that deserves to be preserved and applied, because it bridges 2 worlds, the world of wartime necessity and the world of modern preparedness. If you found this guide insightful and want to explore more forgotten wartime methods that still have real-world use today, make sure you subscribe to In the Beginning. And, share this video so others can benefit from this knowledge.